There has been this cute little simple cap sleeve top idea that has been living rent-free in my head for, oh look at that, over a year now, and I'm finally getting to it. Hello there and welcome back to the June May channel. My name is Paula Jean and this is where I share about some of the stuff that I make. Last year when I was pattern testing the Vivi blouse and dress pattern by Pattern Scout, I had shown in the video for that some hacking ideas, and one of them was to shorten the sleeve and the peplum to make a cute little summer top. I have also had these pieces of quilting cotton that I pilfered from my stepmom's stash with permission. And I've always thought that these would look really cute together in sort of a patchwork style garment. One of them is a brown background with some beautiful turquoise and mustard color flowers on it. It's a cafe facet fabric. The other one is also a brown background, but with some olive and blue kind of abstract blobby things on it. And I also have a beige background one that has these brown and blue and a little bit of yellow kind of botanical type flower prints on it. And there's a couple of other little pieces that I had that I didn't know what I was going to do with, but I loved how they looked together, so I took it too. It's a striped fabric, and one of them is just big enough, I think, for an undercollar. The other one is actually a piece that's cut on the diagonal that was obviously used for some like bias binding or something. So I'm going to go ahead and make some bias binding out of that little scrap of it and just see if I can incorporate it somehow. So I think all of these together would make this really cute little cap sleeve blouse. The interesting thing about the whole cap sleeve idea is that I'm kind of amazed that there aren't more cap sleeve patterns out there. Like there's lots of ones that are kind of that fluttery, ruffly type of cap sleeve, but I just want one that's basically kind of a hood over my shoulder that ends before the underarm seam. So I was doing some research on how to draft a pattern like that, and apparently cap sleeves come in basically three kind of different styles. One of them is one that does attach. It's a full sleeve pattern, and the only thing that defines it as a cap sleeve is just that the hem comes up above the bicep line. There's the one that I'm going for, which kind of attaches basically kind of halfway down the arm side, and it ends after the front and back notches on the sleeve pattern piece. And then there's one that stops above those notch points, and I think that would basically just give you a little visor over your shoulder instead of a hood. The other thing is that apparently, because on a cap sleeve, you don't need the ease that is generally built into a sleeve cap, so you need to remove some of that. So I guess I'll be doing that as well. But yeah, so I'm going to use the Vivi sleeve to do that and give that a whirl.
I've traced off just the upper part of the Vivi sleeve, and I'm drawing a line across the biceps line. And I'm making an arbitrary decision here to start with 2 inches from the center up from that line. And then I'm just hand drawing in a curve that looks good to my eye. And I'm marking that point on the other side of the sleeve to make sure that it's even. I'm smoothing out the curve using my hip curve ruler, and because I want to make sure that the curve is the same on the front and the back, I'm going to fold the sleeve in half again, finish smoothing out that line, and then I'm tracing over it with my pointy tracing wheel. Now I can just follow those little dots and draw in the rest of the curve. To remove the ease from the sleeve cap, I'm once again making an arbitrary decision to start with 1/2 inch from the center, and once again drawing in a curve that looks good to me. For the peplum, I'm drawing in the 5/8 inch seam allowance at the waist, and I'm starting off with a 3 inch long peplum. And I'm adding in 5/8 of an inch for a hem. After giving the same treatment to the front peplum, I also made a shortened front placket.
Okay, my husband is outside doing some pressure washing, and I'm hoping that the sound is not being picked up by my microphone. Anyway, this is a public sewing announcement for why you should keep your muslins. This was actually one of the muslins that I did to test the bodice when I was testing the pattern. And whenever I'm doing a pattern test and there are sleeve variations, I'll usually do one side with one variation and the other with the other. So this was obviously the sleeveless side of the Vivi, and this one had the sleeve on it, and I had kept it on it and just took it off and used it to make this little cap sleeve. So yeah, saving fabric. But anyway, this is actually super cute. This is what I'm looking for. The cap sleeve, I did two sleeves and I faced it. This is how a lot of cap sleeves are done because that is a curved hemline. So it's easier to do a facing. You could also do a bias binding on it, but I just did two of them. And sewed them on, and I think I just want it to be a little bit longer here. I'm happy with how it attaches here and in the back, but I think I want it to be just a little bit longer. And I'll probably pinch out like just a tiny bit so that it curves a little bit more over my shoulder. But other than that, yeah, I think I can just add a little bit of length to the center and grade it to nothing at the ends. And I'm also really happy with the peplum length. This is just what I wanted. I can still wear this with like high-waisted or mid-rise pants or shorts or skirts or whatever. So yeah, I think with those little adjustments, I'm good to go.
After adding about 5/8 of an inch of length at the center, I'm now going to take a little bit out of the center of the sleeve. I'm going to do this by slicing up the middle, marking 1/4 of an inch only on the hem, and I'm going to overlap those pieces by that 1/4 inch. This also affects my grain line, so I'm going to erase as much of the original as I can and fold the sleeve piece in half. This will give me my new grain line. And we're off.
So I am all ready to cut out, but because I'm doing essentially color blocking with this version, I didn't fully trust my brain to just be able to keep track of all of the pattern pieces and what goes face up, what goes face down, to make sure that I have all of the pieces in the right orientation, in the right fabric. So I went ahead and drew out in Procreate the version of the top and colored in all of the different sections with the fabric that they're going to have. And I also wrote on the back of the pattern envelope basically a legend of which pieces go face up and which pieces go face down on the face up fabric. So now I have that for future reference in case I ever do like another color blocked or fabric blocked version of this top again. Did I mention that I only have slightly less than half a yard of each of these brown fabrics that are making up the bulk of the top, and that because quilting cotton is only 42 inches wide, I am having to be very, very strategic in how I place my pattern pieces, and several of them have to be placed on the cross grain. So I'm hoping that that's gonna work out fine. I think it will. Alrighty, it is a couple of days later, and apologies, I just finished a workout, which is why I look like this. But this is where I've gotten to so far. So I've attached the bodice front and back. I have interfaced the facings, but not attached them yet. And in the instructions for the Vivi, you can do a clean finished facing by sewing the interfacing to the right side of the fabric, sew them right sides together, and then flip it over and press it down, and then so that it glues together, and then you get a nice, beautiful finished edge. Because I've got so much going on here and so much to keep track of, I just decided to do a regular interfacing process, and then I just serged the edges of the facing. I think that's going to be just fine. So that is that. I also put the peplum together, haven't attached it to the bodice yet, and I did the collar. So that looks lovely. And I did have enough of that tiny piece of stripe to put as the undercollar, which I really like. I also decided to soften the edge of the collar a little bit. I didn't want like a Peter Pan collar or anything that dramatic, but I just thought that this kind of suited a slightly softer corner. So I did that, and then I'll do the same thing when I sew the lapel to the bodice. I might do the same thing on the bottom edge of the peplum, but we'll see. On the subject of the stripe though, I went ahead and made the bias tape out of that little piece of bias cut fabric that I had, and I got like 4 yards of bias tape that if I did this double fold, like fold to the center and then fold it over in half, I'd get like a 3/8 inch finished bias tape if I decided to use it that way. I'm always amazed at how much bias tape you can get out of such a small piece of fabric. But yeah, I had this idea that I was going to maybe use this as a flat piping around the collar, around the edge of the collar, and around the front edge of the lapel and everything. But then when I put this right next to each other, especially on this side with the very bold flowers, it kind of just got lost. And I'm obviously into print mixing and everything, but if it's going to get lost, then it's not really worth it, right? So I decided to scrap that idea. However, I do really like it next to like a single print. So I am going to use this to finish the hem of my sleeves, because I can try to show you what my plan is here. So yeah, I'm just going to put it on the edge of the sleeve and have it exposed like that, because I think that at the edge, like right next to my skin, this I don't know if you're getting that or not. This is a stupid way to show you this, but anyway. Yeah, so I think right next to my skin, you'll be able to see everything that's going on. I think my neighbor has decided to start jackhammering. That's fun. But anyway, I'm going to use this to finish the hems of the sleeves, and I'm also going to put it on the hem of the peplum, because I think that would look really cute as well and kind of tie everything together. So yeah, that's what I've got going on. So I just need to attach the collar and the facings here, put the sleeves on, attach the peplum, and then it'll be done. I think I'm going to do this later tonight though, because I've got to take a shower and get to an appointment. So next time you see this, it'll probably be finished or almost finished, because I don't have great lighting conditions in here for filming at night, which is when I'm going to be sewing this. So to be continued. Okay, so I did get most of the shirt put together last night, but I wanted to show you how I'm going to finish this underarm part here, because that is unfinished due to the partial sleeve. So I've already stitched in the sleeve at 5/8 of an inch, and I've continued the stitch all the way around the underarm. And I had run a line of stay stitching just inside of that in a lighter color, but this is going to just make it easier to see here because it's darker. So I'm going to trim this entire arm side down to 3/8 of an inch. After that, I'm going to use my bias tape, and I've just folded over the end here, just a little bit to make it a clean finish. And then right sides together, like this, I'm going to start attaching this, probably kind of roughly where that notch was, just over. I just want to make sure it's inside of the sleeve a little bit. And then I'm going to stitch it all the way around the underarm to the other side, and this will be at 3/8 of an inch. So imagine this top part here is cut off. So once that's sewn, I can then flip it over like this, and then flip that bias tape to the inside. So that'll be a nice clean finish. And then I'll be able to top stitch on the top here, or probably I'll do it from the bottom, so that that's just going to catch that folded edge, and I'm going to end up with a nice clean finish on the underarm. So I will show you that when it's done. In my head, there were two possible outcomes to this project. One was an unmitigated calico catastrophe, and the other one was this. I am very happy with how this turned out. I think this top looks really sweet, but because of the colors, it kind of tones it down a little bit and makes it very wearable. I really like how the bias binding in the stripes ended up tying in the light color of the collar and the lapel in a really nice way. I really like how it looks with neutral bottoms, pants and skirts. I can also go full country bumpkin under my overalls, and of course I had to try it with a vest. And if I want to go full-on flower freak show, I can always pair it with my floral pants. I also hope that this has served as a little bit of inspiration to anybody who's kind of into the cottagecore aesthetic, just to know that you can get it without having to gather 7.5 miles of ruffles. So let me know what you think of how this turned out. Are you a pattern mixer, or is it kind of way too crazy for you? Let me know in the comments. And if you like this kind of content, please like, share, and subscribe. In the meantime, take great care of yourselves, and I will see you in the next one.